Hello, people, and how's all doing today? So I'm just going to kind of say this very openly, and I'm going to say it uh, very formally, I suppose you could put it. But I feel in a few years, in about 4, maybe 5 years, or maybe even next year, that the Irish economy will just collapse. And what I mean by collapse, it will just literally collapse into itself, and the whole country will collapse along with it. Everybody be broke and homeless and everything. Because Ireland is going through housing crisis, people dying on the streets, and we're taking in migrants from other countries in the European Union is making us take it in, and we don't have anywhere to put them, and we're putting them into hotels, and we can't even house our own people, deal with one issue and then deal with the other issue that's coming in. Don't deal with two things at once. It's like fighting a war on two fronts. You can't fight two wars on one. It's recommended only fight one war on one front. Like that's what happened with Hitler, because he was fighting the Americans and then not the Americans. He was fighting the Americans and the British and over that front, and then he decided the Soviet Union would be nice to fight too. But right. I do feel like the Irish economy will collapse, and I do feel like sooner or later, I think there'll be just a huge mess, and I think there'll be a huge amount of immigration in either 2 more years or 3 more years, because I can see the whole country collapsing. Like there's only so much people can listen to, with people dying on the streets. Like I'm at the breaking point of literally going out and protesting and kicking Michael Higgins around the country, but I suppose that won't accomplish anything. That will just give yourself a bad name, but that won't accomplish anything kicking Michael Higgins up and down the country, because he still at the end of the day have his money, so that's not what he's going to do any good for anybody or the country's sake. But we should have a more active president. That's one thing I would love to hear. Like if he would just open his mouth. But I do feel like even if we look at our public transport, right? We've seen recent years a huge amount of trouble on the Lewises and Darts and all that, and that's just going to continue because there's no policing on the trams or the Lewis. When I was in Dublin, it was mainly in Dublin and some parts of other parts of the country, but mainly in Dublin. Like there was people going around smoking and that wouldn't be allowed. Like it's not up to me. It's not up to anybody else. Like it's up to the Department of Transport or the Transport Authority or whoever's in charge of the DART to say, look, can you go? You can wait until you get off the train. Like it's not going to kill you. But show people probably have a disagreement about that. But what can we do? And about bus Aaron too. Like bus Aaron is, well, I don't know. Years ago, I don't know how they could cope. Like money was very short years ago, and how could they survive? The state could survive, and now we're in the 24th century. We can't even survive about 10 minutes without going. Oh, out something in the country going absolutely fucked up, and forgive me for my language. But bus Aaron will not be around in 2 or 3 years. That's what I really think. Because as I've seen in my local area, there's been getting rid of bus routes like they're a pile of chocolate. And I use that very lightly because they do get rid of bus routes like chocolate. Like there was one going, it was going from Dublin through Bullets Bridge to go to Enniskillen, and now it's diverted somewhere else. I don't know where, but it's not in our village anymore. But it is only for local leak and all that. The older people wouldn't have a fucking anyway. And forgive my language again, because at this stage in political society, you get fed up and depressed and listen to people lying dead in the street. Like you wish for a better country, but wishes can't build economies. Well, I wish they could, but we'd be wishing our lives away. But as I said about the country back, like we dealing with a hospital crisis too. Let me just say, and we can't cope with the people who are sick. and there's not enough staff. There's not enough beds. I can go on. There's not enough ambulances. Shamalahan Hospital was closed. It would not have off the accident emergency part, and they had to come down to Cavan. So they had to get an ambulance from Monaghan or drive down to Cavan, which is about, it depends whereabouts in Monaghan, like 30 minutes maybe to the hospital. Like, I know 3 or 5 or 15, maybe 16 people who died trying to getting to Cavan General, but if they had a hospital in Monaghan, it all boils down to greed and just couldn't be asked, and that's, to be honest, the thing. And they couldn't, and people, they pay over here for nurses. I can really understand why they go to Saudi Arabia and Finland and Australia and all that. It's better lives, better economies, better governments. Over here, the government doesn't care less about people, and it's really simple. And I go on about education a lot because I feel, and I see it, I'm in college, and I feel that education is terrible. Terrible. Absolutely terrible in this country. Because we look at Nordic countries like Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, they're absolutely kicking our asses. Literally. And I don't use that lightly, but they actually do. And I credit them, the government over there, and because they care about children's futures. They're like to the children, what do you want to do? What do you want to learn? And the children like, I want to do this today. And they learn different things. The teachers teach them different things. Like if they want to do woodwork, let's just say, or do maths, they go on the computer one day. Next day they could be taking a few notes, and then they'd be like, "Oh, bugger the notes. We do something. We get tablets or something. We do a bit of games, maths games, on tablets, or we do Kahoot games and maths or something like that." It's plain simple. I don't know why the Department of Education over in this country hasn't used their brains, because I don't think the Minister of Education has any brains. Like Richard Burton was alright. I think he knew his stuff, and now he's gone out of education. Like, as they say, a change is as good as the West. And in schools, and we can see why Ireland has a high suicide rate. I think it's about nearly 700 young people killed themselves this year, maybe 600, I don't know, it could be lower than that. But it's a lot, let me tell you. And there's no mental health services in this country at all, because everybody goes to Australia and everything, because the pay is absolutely terrible. And I feel for people, because I have mental health problems too. I'm not going to deny to people that I don't, because having to look at your country the way it is, and the hassle of college and all that, is just gets you really straight here. And I'm sure it happens to a lot of people, but we're patriotic. Patriotism in this country is just gone altogether. Nobody cares about Ireland. Nobody wants to fight for it or anything like that. Like we see in France, I'm going off topic and I'm going off topic a lot here, but forgive me for it. We see in France in Belgium and Sweden in some parts, Eurofest protests. There's Eurofests in Ireland, I have to say, but there's not a big amount of them. But the only thing I say is, they're fed up with the government. They don't like their policies. They don't like the way they're treating the people. And they're saying to the government, no, we are the people. We have more power than you. And that's what happened to France. Because they're going out and they're saying to the French president and the French government, we're the ones who pay your wages. And we're the ones who want change. While in Ireland, people are too afraid and too weak to say to the government, look, this country has to change fiercely. And we can see with our guards, there's a lot of guard recruitment, I have to give that. But crime is, local crime and community crime and rural crime especially, has gone up a good lot. And we just think to ourselves, and I'm thinking here to myself, like, Ireland only has 5 million people on this island, including Northern Ireland. How is a country so broken with 5 million people? China has 1 billion. Like, I'm looking around the room saying to myself, what? Like, how can we mess this up? I don't get it. I really don't get it. I feel like Ireland will head to disaster sooner or later, but be soon. As soon. It depends on Brexit too. But as you can see, you can see really by my eyes that I'm thinking of the bad outcomes, because I can really just see badness where I'm just staring into this eye and I'm looking at that. I can see it in my eye and I can see what could happen. Because I can picture it. And I can imagine what could happen. And that's one thing politicians don't have. Well, at least I have, at least that maybe politicians, maybe some of them do. But I can picture bad situations happening. I can picture the outcome of them. Especially bad ones, like positive ones I can't really picture. But I can picture, like if we look back in history, any economic downturns or anything in countries, there's always signs of financial strains in different departments. Like when the bikes collapsed over here, we could really see in the months leading up to it, but people were like, it's nothing. And the government didn't seem to watch the bikes at all, like they didn't care less. Because everyone was like, it's the golden age. That's what people really called it over here. It was like the golden rush. And what was one morning we woke up and the whole country was absolutely broke. And everybody had to pay the money back. Because we had to pay for the bikes mess. Which is something I only recovered from recently. That we got unemployment down and everything sorted. And as you can see, I have a nice poster of Ireland, and I often think to myself, what have we done for Ireland over this last 100 years since we've been here, since the foundation of the state? Like, what have we done to solve this history in which people died for? And to solve this beautiful land with lakes, seas surrounded with beautiful scenery. And we are in the 21st century. And we can't take care of our own people, our own land with litter, and our seas with plastic in it. Because that's what I think of every time I turn around. I think of that. I know it's a very dark thought to take, but what can you do? But anyway, thank you for watching. Subscribe for more, and I wouldn't worry about it. Whatever happens, I'm sure Ireland will stand strong together. Thank you.